It's very simple. I'm here.
Jared Moskowitz is making the mistake of his career, and he doesn't even know it. Like something out of the Odyssey, the hubris of this establishment darling is absolutely astonishing. Refusing to show up for a debate when the Democrats are at their lowest popularity ratings ever. He's nowhere to be found. Likely because this SpaceX Doge Democrat knows that Oliver Larkin was gonna let him have it.
Jared Moskowitz just dropped out of tonight's debate hosted by the Broward and Miami-Dade Democratic Black Caucuses. I will be there regardless, debating an empty lectern where Jared Moskowitz refuses to stand, because unlike him, I will show up for each and every South Florida constituency of voters that I'm seeking to represent in the United States Congress.
The MAGA media jumped on immediately to protect their favorite Democrat, Moskowitz, claiming that he never technically dropped out because he never gave his final confirmation, which doesn't change the fact that he's still refusing to show up for a debate. This twerp thinks that because he's a political nepo baby, he just has to show up and get a free seat. This exact arrogance and disdain for the constituents is exactly why the local paper, the Sun Sentinel, refused to give him their endorsement like they had in previous cycles. They said the congressman declines to take part in Democratic forums with Larkin and has held no in-person town halls with constituents. That falls far short of what voters deserve. So I guess we shouldn't be surprised that he would consider a debate hosted by two black caucuses beneath him. But unfortunately for Jared, his opponent actually showed up.
What I want to ask you, as a member of Congress, what specific federal policies would you pursue to address disparities, and how would you determine whether your policies were actually improving conditions in the black communities rather than simply creating new programs that may not have any actual measurable results?
Yeah, so on federal legislation and federal action that can be taken, I'm a big supporter of universal economic programs like Medicare for All, universal child care, paid family and medical leave. But we also need to take note of the specific and intentional harm that's been inflicted on black communities for centuries in the United States. So I would proudly co-sponsor HR 40, introduced by Representative Ayanna Pressley, to form a committee to study reparations and look at the specific ways that the community in South Florida and the black community across the country has been harmed by redlining, by loan discrimination, by the inability to obtain small business loans or to be able to purchase a home. And we see this really acutely in South Florida right now, the ongoing segregation of our neighborhoods, the income and wealth inequality that oftentimes falls along racial lines. So I really believe that there's action that we can take in Congress to improve the ability for people to own a home by taking on private equity and corporate landlords that are taking up so much of the available home inventory. Homes should not be built for perpetual rent so that someone can make a quick buck. Homes should be for people to live in and for the economic security of our communities.
What is genuinely novel about the democratic socialist movement is that we aren't afraid to stand on tough issues. Reparations is one of those lip service topics that the Democrats are really too afraid to touch. But the systemic underinvestment in black and brown communities is not irreversible. It's just that all of our so-called representatives are too scared to say what Oliver does.
You say that you are in support of HR 40. So once that research is done and the ticket comes back in the trillions of dollars, are you ready to say yes to the African American community with that type of
reparations?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
People that don't know what that bill is, it is a reparations bill.
Yes, absolutely. I think when we see $1 to $2 billion a day that are spent on war overseas, we always hear that we don't have money to invest in our communities. We don't have money to invest in childcare or healthcare or housing, but we always seem to find the money from the taxpayers to go to war and to enrich the war profiteers and to increase the Defense Department budget from $1 trillion to $1.5 trillion, even when they can't even pass an audit and tell us where the money is going. So yes, I'm supportive of HR 40, but there have been commissions in the state of California to study reparations. And when it came due for the findings for the California legislature to pass the bill, they didn't actually follow through on it. So yes, I support studying the issue. I'm also willing to commit the federal resources to repair the harm. It is ridiculous that in United States history, the slaveholders were compensated for the loss of property, but the freed people were not compensated for their enslavement. That is not right.
It's not an accident that Jared Moskowitz is getting a failing score on the Integrity Index. He talks out the side of his mouth about supporting Democratic policies like banning congressional stock trading. But then, if you look behind the curtain, wouldn't you know it, corruption.
It used to be in America. You work hard, you get the good life. But politicians like Jared Moskowitz sold us out just to cash a campaign check from Elon Musk's corporate PAC.
I'm a twice appointed Ron DeSantis Democrat.
I'm Oliver Larkin, and I'm running for Congress to invest in us. Healthcare and housing we can actually afford. I'm Oliver Larkin, and I approve this message because we deserve the good life right here in Florida.
On top of being a proud DeSantis Democrat and early Doge supporter, he's also showing how dirty he is when he bought the SpaceX IPO early. Jared Moskowitz and others bought between roughly $83,000 and $245,000 in SpaceX shares, all within 6 days of its IPO, providing a prime example of how these corpo Dems have no real incentive to give the people what we're demanding. For months, Representative Moskowitz has been avoiding tough questions about his record, refusing to hold even a single public town hall since his voters sent him to Congress in 2022. It's pure cowardice. His sense of entitlement and arrogance is unacceptable for a public official. The National Republican Committee is also criticizing Jared Moskowitz, saying, "Lazy Lil Jared Moskowitz knows his record of voting to hike taxes and push woke policies. Yeah, I fucking wish. Is an embarrassment. He's too cowardly to answer for it." Jared Moskowitz is getting fried from both the left and the right, so it's clear why he's hiding in his swamp. He knows that his name recognition is likely to carry him through the primary, that the more eyes on this race there are, the worse it is for him, and that when people hear about Oliver Larkin, they quickly like him. So that's why we have to get Oliver's name out there. Share with your friends and family. And if you like our work here, you can become a member. It's the best way to support us. But just subscribing and watching is always enough too. I'm Tony Hinderman, and I'll catch you next time.